amazing.
All right, so I gave a sample, and I think, I don't know, maybe I can help somebody in the room. So, no, I'll introduce myself maybe. Here goes.
Wait, no, that's awkward. Somebody else do it. No, introduce yourself.
Peyton, I'll let you introduce.
Okay. You're on video, so this is safe forever.
Hold on.
Do you want me to come hype you up?
No, you from right there.
Okay. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Ken George.
So some of you know, many of you know actually, that I turned 50 yesterday. And I know you're all thinking, impossible, he looks 32, and I agree. But yesterday I had Jordan George, my older son, at home, and he was playing the guitar. He came home from college, he comes home a lot. And Ty was over, and his girlfriend Allie was over, and my wife was kind of hanging out doing some work and such. She was not making cookies like last time, but I was just sitting there, and I was listening to, I was actually here at school till about 10 p.m. doing some things, and then I was at home. And I was just sitting there listening to Jordan play the guitar and sitting with Ty, and I was just thinking that. I was just thinking I'm 50, and I have everything I've ever wanted in life, and just how incredibly lucky I was. And I thought at second hour on Friday as well, when these people put a little party together for me. But this is where I am, is I have everything I've ever wanted in life, and all I do is spend time with students. And I guess I want to maybe give you 5 little quick hints that could potentially lead to you having everything you want in your life. And it might be different for you. It might be an A on your chem test. It might be, I don't know what it might be, admission to a certain college or whatever. But here's some hints. I've got 5 hints for you to help you get everything you want in life. And try it, and I'll give you a little challenge at the end. First is to smile. That's me when I was younger and had hair. That's Jordan on the left, or Jordan on the whatever. That's Jordan, that's Ty. And so I met my wife when I was working at Albion College, and she was working there as well. And there were only 2 single people in the whole town, me and my wife, so we had to date. She was stuck with me. But I walked into her office, and because someone told me I should meet her, and I just talked to her, just knocked on her door and walked in, said, "Hi, I'm Ken," and just had a little talk with her. And we went out to dinner that night and a movie that night, and then we started dating, etc. And she's now my wife. But I asked her, I don't even know when I asked her one time, I just, like, why did you agree? Like, why did you go with me? She said, I just liked how you smiled a lot. I just liked that you smiled when you introduced yourself to me. Everything in my life that I can possibly think of, everything I have, including this job, is then a result of that. And I just highly recommend that when you can, you smile. Non-verbally, most of what you say and most of what you do is actually communicated through non-verbals, not the actual words you're saying. I think a smile can communicate a lot, and perception of you will certainly improve. Number 2 is look people in the eyes. That's my dad, and I talk to him every day, and he taught me this very, very early on. He said, whenever you speak to anybody, one-on-one or in a group, look them in the eye. I was ordering from restaurants at a very young age, staring at the waiter or the waitress and ordering my food. I was taught that at a very, very early age. And I think it's a thing that's a little bit of a lost art right now, and I'd recommend to all of you, it's a minor thing, but it can really make a major difference. If when you talk to somebody, you will take the hood off or take the hat off, or you'll look up and you will look them in the eye, and I really think it can make a major difference. I think it communicates confidence, honesty, and maturity. Say and write thank yous, number 3. So I got this job 24 years ago, and it's all because I wrote one thank you note. This was a school that I visited when I worked for Albion College in the admissions office. And I visited here for 2 straight years, and I got to know the counselor a little bit. After I visited the last time, I got back to Albion College, and for whatever reason, I don't even know why I did it, I wrote her a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note. Thank you for having me to visit FHC. It's a great school, and I love the kids there and whatever. She called me a week later and said, there's an English job open and a basketball coaching position open. You should apply. And I asked her why. She called me to tell me about it. And she said, the only reason I called you is you're the first admissions counselor to send me a thank you note. And crazy to think that one of the reasons why I'm here right now and why I've met my students and why I was Ranger Ball coach for 24 years is because I wrote one thank you note one time. I don't think it needs to be handwritten. I think it needs to be said or emailed or whatever. But I think saying thank you will mean a lot, and you should do that. Number 4 is to be the first one there. I don't care how much earlier you are than anybody else. Whenever you go to anything, go to class, go to softball practice, go to a meeting, and then your job, just be the first one there. Beat everybody there by a couple minutes, because then everyone shows up, including your boss, and guess what? They don't know if you've been there for 2 hours or 5 minutes. All they know is that it's more important to you that you're there already doing your job and working. And for 24 years of practices, you could ask my players, there's not one time that players beat me to practice. I was always the first one there. When they walked in, I was there. My meetings, my classes, job interviews. My first job and internship, I traveled with a solar car race. I was in a PR firm and we traveled with these solar cars from city to city. And I just remember in that job, I was an intern. And I was the first one in the building, every day. I wasn't that much earlier than everyone else, but they had no idea. They wondered if I was there at 3 in the morning already doing my work. Highly recommend that you are the first one there. And number 5 is to under-promise and over-deliver. In the summer, I run camps, and this is one of the camps, and a picture of all the kids in the camp. And my camps have really taken off, and I think it's just really because of this one thing that I do. I under-promise and over-deliver. So let's say that your English teacher, Miss Scott, is it Scott now? I think it's Miss Scott now, says, hey, I'll get your papers graded and I'll get them back to you by Friday. And she's actually grading papers right now, she said. What if she handed them back to you on Wednesday? You'd be like, wow, thanks, like earlier, I appreciate it. Or maybe you wouldn't care about it, I don't know, but you might be like, wow, she got them done a lot earlier than she said. What if I told you from day one she knew that it was going to be Wednesday, but she just told you Friday so she could do this? I'm going to under-promise, I'll get them to you Friday. But then she gives them to you Wednesday, and then you are all excited and happy, and you think that she did something early. She didn't do it early at all. She just said it was going to be later. I think you can do this in a lot of ways. Tell your family, I'll clean my room by Thursday. Clean it on Tuesday. Your family will look at you like, oh my gosh, you did it early, when all along you knew you were doing it Tuesday. So a 2-day challenge at home for all of you. I invite you to try it. Honestly, I think it could help some things. Number 1 is walk in the house smiling. I think some of you use all your smiles in school all day, and then you get worn out, and then you walk in crabby. I would just recommend maybe walking in and smiling, and maybe your family would look at you and what happened. Number 2 would be look your family in the eyes. Sit at dinner, put your darn Snapchat Fortnite thing away, and look at your family in the eyes, and talk to them. And I think, again, they might look at you and say, you know, I appreciate that. Number 3 would be to write them a thank you note. I'm sure your family does some things for you. Write them a note. It might be the weirdest thing ever for one of your family members to get a thank you note from you, but I guarantee it might change the atmosphere at home a little bit. Number 4 would be the first one to dinner or car or whatever. And then number 5 would be to promise to clean your room. What day is today? Monday. Promise to clean your room by Wednesday, and then clean it tomorrow and see what happens. And I think you'll see a pretty unique reaction from your family. So in the end, I have a little confession to make. I'll tell you, last year at the end of the year, I was teaching senior comp, and I had 2 students, and they were both on the verge of an A- or a B+, and I had to make that decision: do I round up or do I not round up? And I will tell you that I did round up one of those grades to an A-, and I did not round the other one up. And I'll also tell you that it's because one of the people did all those things, and the other person just didn't. And is that fair? I don't know if that's fair, but I think that's human nature. So I hope that maybe someday when you're 50, I know that's pretty impossible to even think about being 50, but I hope someday when you're 50, you can be sitting on the couch with whatever it is that you want in life, and you can look back, maybe even on today, and say, oh, thanks, bald guy. Now I have everything I've ever wanted in my life.